Tiffany Ball from Grow Networking, thank you for coming out today. Appreciate it. Give me a little bit about yourself and how you started Grow, and then we'll go from there.
My pleasure. I'm very excited to be here. I love to talk. So
Awesome.
You've invited the right person.
Yes.
Grow Networking. So I just started networking about a year ago. It has not been a long time.
Seemed like a natural, though.
Yeah, very much so. I come from a 20-year background in hospitality.
Oh, okay.
So,
That makes sense.
yeah, what that means is I managed Hilton and Marriott hotels.
Oh, wow.
I was very much into guest service, which is different from customer service, if you ask me, and managing a team. And I started from the bottom. So I was a housekeeper.
Now you're here.
Yeah, started from the bottom, now you're here. And I don't have a college education. I did it all on just being able to do the job and say yes.
That's kind of how it should be.
I legitimately think that.
Yeah, I think so.
There are many times like people would come in and like they had degrees and stuff. They had hospitality degrees and they would come in and like entry level management positions and they'd have no idea what they were doing and they would fail very quickly.
Just because they're not people?
Yeah, they had no idea that it's about reading people, reading the room, being able to listen to somebody, being able to lead people in the direction you need them to go, being able to say no.
Yeah, that's tough. We can talk about that later.
Man, I had to learn how to do that. So I always had somebody to network for me. And about the end of June 2023, I went through a transition, I like to call it. I was fired from a job that I thought I was doing really well at, and it was devastating.
Yeah.
And with it being devastating, I decided to run. I sold my townhouse. I sold 90% of the things that I owned, and I bought a 36-foot travel trailer.
Okay.
And I was like, you know what? I'm going to live in this travel trailer with my son, and we're going to travel across the country. My ex, who is my son's father, he was like, okay, so how are we going to do this? I was like, look, I'm going to figure a way for you to fit into this because you're coming along, which we did. And so we
awesome.
it was very scary, but I did not want to be part of society anymore, if I'm going to be completely honest. I went for 20-year career in hospitality, left to become an entrepreneur, didn't work, had to go back into the work field, and then I get fired. And I didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
So I kind of went through this whole life thing where I had to figure out who I was as a person because a lot of it had to do with the money that I made and my career. And so long story short, I went and visited friends in Colorado Springs because that's where we moved here from.
Okay.
And one of them was like, it was just a little girl. She's 13 years old. And we were having a conversation. And she looked at me and she was like, are you a public speaker? And I was like, no, I'm not. But I've always wanted to be.
Yeah.
Like, it's something I've always wanted to do. Not yet.
Yeah.
So I came back and I had a conversation with Sean. It was like January of last year. And I was like, look, what do you feel about not traveling and doing that? And he was like, why? I said, I really think I'm running. I think I'm running because I'm afraid and it hurt me so bad to be fired when I thought I was doing a good job.
Some soul searching to do that. Yeah.
Like legit. And he was like, well, what do you want to do? I was like, I want to be a public speaker. I don't know how it's going to happen. I don't know what path I need to follow. All I know is I need to make money doing something until then. And he said, okay, how about you do this? Because he owns his own company. And he said, how about you get your life insurance license and you just go out there and sell things for the company? And I was like, I don't like sales. He was like, you don't have to sell anything, Tiffany. You just make the appointments. You meet people and I'll sell them. I was like, okay,
I would love to have someone like that on my team, right?
Right. So that's what I did.
You're like a physical appointment setter.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to convince you that it's a good idea.
Yeah. Well, the product should speak for itself.
It does.
If you need the help with it, just let's have a conversation and we'll go from there.
Exactly. So I started to network for him. And I remember the first meeting I went to, I drove all the way to Maryland. Close to Bethesda, I think. But I drove to Maryland and I drive up to this country club. And I'm starting to have anxiety because number one, like I come from broke. I used to make a lot of money, but I always have this thing about being in spaces where people are affluent and they have money. And so I was very uncomfortable. And I walk in and I called Sean, who's my ex, who owns the company. I was like, I don't think I'm supposed to be here. He was like, look, I know that you're uncomfortable, but just go in. Go in, meet 5 people, and then leave. And I was like, okay, I can do that.
Yeah.
So I go in. I
meet 20, of course.
Yeah. The third person that I meet is my first
Your first
appointment.
Sale? Okay. Oh,
and
perfect.
it happened so quickly, and it happened so naturally because I was just talking to him and being myself. And I realized at that moment that I was really good at it.
Yeah.
And so kind of, I guess the rest isn't history, but that's how I got into networking.
Yeah, okay.
Is for him.
So you still do that at all, or?
I do. I make connections with him for him when I find them.
Yeah.
But it's really hard because of the type of, he needs businesses that are pretty established and have employees.
Yeah.
And a lot of networking that I go to is, the first entry level entrepreneur that doesn't have, they have a few employees maybe, but they're not like some big business.
Yeah, if they've been around for 10 years, you're not going to probably see them. Unless a Chamber of Commerce event, maybe
Correct.
you would see those
Correct.
people. But at regular networking, it's probably
No.
not.
Because the owner's not there. They're sending a salesperson.
Yeah.
Or the marketing person. And that marketing person doesn't care about you. They're
Right.
trying to market their own business.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
it's a hard sell for what it is that
Right.
his business does. So, but I still do it when I can.
So what does GROW stand for?
It was acronymed, right? So it was gaining real opportunity with networking.
Okay.
Right? And I took it out. I left the acronym out. I took the little periods out. And the reason I did is because when you're having a conversation about business, how often do you use the word grow? All the time.
Yeah,
all the time. People are like, oh, I really need to grow my business, or I need to grow my profit, or I need to grow my employees. Whatever it is, you're always talking about doing more and growing. And so I thought that the name kind of spoke for itself because we're just about growing business, connections, and your mind.
Yeah, I think a logo's easier too without, because then you got to put all the words in there.
Yeah, and
you
then
know?
people ask you what it is, and you got to remember what it stands for, and you're like, So yeah, I did take that out, but it did have a meaning because it is about growing all of those things.
So you just had like a conference sort of thing, or like what is it called? An event technically, but you had speakers of different types. So what did they talk about? I was sad I couldn't be there.
So we do have there are different types of networking meetings that I'm doing, and I'm pulling them all out of my bum. Okay. These are ideas that I'm like, okay, I think it should be done this way. The recent panel that we had,
That makes it more fun though.
it does
When it works out, especially.
This one worked out, and I
looks great.
swear I was so happy because it's like having your dream and having an idea and then seeing it come to life in front of you and it working and people enjoying it. And everybody at the event was like, this was great. And this was so different. And I really enjoyed it. And the panelists enjoyed it. And it was a different type of event because, number one, when you throw an event, and you know this, somebody's got to pay for it.
Yeah.
I'm not paying for it.
Yeah.
And most of the time, people get sponsors to pay. And they structure the meeting this way. So you have the networking meeting. The sponsors get to, the sponsors get to speak for a little bit of time and talk about their business. And then everybody networks.
Right.
And that's normal, right? That's how most networking events are. And that pays for the food and coffee or whatever.
And the rental space, maybe, if you can't get it for free.
I'd be trying to get these things for free. So anybody know free spaces, holler at me.
I mean, I'm sure there's a lot as long as it's in the middle of the day.
Exactly. And there are a lot of restaurants and spaces that the owners need more, what's the word when you put people out there?
They just need more exposure.
That's the word.
Yeah.
There he is.
It's kind of what I do.
Exactly.
Why did it take me so long to think of the words?
I'm going to need some help here, Mike.
Well,
okay?
they need people to know that it exists. I mean, there's
Exactly.
a few breweries that I don't even, the average person that doesn't go to breweries all the time, do they even know?
Right. And then they think to themselves, how am I going to get somebody to market this? I don't have a marketing budget.
Right.
And the way is this. This is a great way of doing it. Exactly. Is getting people in there. Number one, these are all business owners. So everybody that comes to a networking event, there's an opportunity that they could use that space the way that I'm using it, or hiring it for birthdays, whatever it may be.
Christmas parties, holiday parties. Yeah.
Or you get to highlight your food and you're like, God, this food or this beer is delicious. I want to come back here just to patronize it on my own.
Right.
So there's a lot of opportunity in offering your space for free. But how we did this the idea for this panel was I wanted the panelists to pay for it. Because I wanted to present it to them as a marketing opportunity.
Yeah.
So they
It's not a bad idea, honestly.
It really isn't.
And then if you have the sponsors as well, then you start making some money.
Exactly. Telling all the secrets. But that's the thing is but you have to, one of the biggest things that I've come across in my networking is there's a lot of networking events out there. You've got the chambers, you've got B&Is that are seat specific. You've got all different types of people who are bringing people together to do business. I found that a lot of those spaces were very transactional. I am not a transactional human being. Yeah. I need to know you. I want to talk about what you did last night or what your mom's name is and, where you came from.
And then if we can do business, great.
It'll come.
Yeah.
And there's just not a lot of spaces where that is the structure and the focus and the foundation of that particular meeting. A lot of people are coming, I want to do business.
Yeah.
And
well, if you are one of those smaller entrepreneurs, you need to do business.
Legit.
Right?
I need to make money.
But you kind of have to believe it and it will come sort of a thing like that by creating these relationships, it's investing. I mean, look at it as like SEO for what we do, it takes a long time to get to the top of Google, but if you would start investing now, then you'll see the benefits later. Exactly.
But I don't think
Little sales pitch.
I think you did a great job. I love you plugged it. That's what you're supposed to do. Yeah. But you're right. It's looking at things as the longevity, like the organic way of doing things. You might be able to get business by handing somebody a business card. But 9 times out of 10, we've all been in those rooms. What are they doing with those business cards? They're going in a Ziploc bag, in a backpack, in a console, in a car, and eventually it's going to go in the garbage. Yeah. Because people are terrible with follow-up, right? And people are terrible of thinking of you in those spaces when you're not there. If you're not in their space and they don't know you. Yeah. People do business with people they like. Right. And how do you like somebody? You get to know them. Yeah. And how do you get to know them? You have to spend time with them. Right. Right? And so a lot of the people who are out there networking don't understand the value in taking the time to get to know these people. Agreed. Because for me, when I started to recognize it is when people were mentioning me in rooms, and it happens now. They're mentioning me in rooms that I'm not in. Yeah. So I've somehow made... For
good stuff.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe bad things. Who knows? I do play the villain in some people's stories, which is fine. But if you're being talked about where you're not, right, that's the goal. Yeah. The goal is for people to sell you to other people that you're not around. Right. That's the idea of it.
You're making little ambassadors all the time.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's why when it came to create and grow, I wanted it to be a basis of intentional connections. I wanted it to make sure, I wanted these meetings that I had to make sure that people were talking about different things where people would know. Instead of doing your little 30-second elevator pitch where it's like, hi, my name's Mike and I work for this company and I do this.
Oh, it's the worst.
Oh, it's so boring. Because half the time, what are you doing? You're thinking about what you're going to say. I'm not listening to anything you're saying, right?
That was the scariest thing. Like when I started networking, I've been in bands for years, but it's been quite a while. So like having to do that 30-second pitch, I could talk to you all day about whatever, but trying to sell myself, like I'd rather just, these are who I want to work with.
Right, right.
If you don't have anyone like that, let's just be friends.
Exactly. Or think about me, right? Yeah. So what I started to do is instead of a 30-second elevator pitch that you have to think about, right? How am I going to sell this person? What's the most important thing to say? I ask questions that allow people to get to know you. And when you're answering these questions, you already know the answer. Like if I asked you, Mike, what is your why? Like, why do you do this? You can immediately, you know what your why is. You can talk about it. You don't have to,
A yacht.
Duh. It's like Tiffany, the money. That's exactly what I want is the money. You be honest. I don't care what it is. But then, because maybe I want a yacht. And maybe we're doing it the same reason. But the reasoning behind it, is you don't have to think about it. So you can literally listen to somebody else and be like, oh, that's like me too. Oh, that made me think of something else. So you can really engage and connect with those people in that time period that you have. And then those conversations can turn into something later because now you realize that you have something in common with those people. And that's what networking should be about. So my events are focused around more intentional engagement and connecting. And sometimes people have a hard time doing it. So I'm helping you by giving you the question, by giving you the conversation starter, and by putting people in rooms that want to do that, right? So if you come to a Grow networking event, that it's going to be more about connecting. It's not going to be about business. It's not for everybody.
Right.
It's not. Some people want to do that immediate.
Well, it makes stuff. And I have a question about this, but it makes things like a little bit better for extroverts.
Yeah.
A little bit better, but also people that aren't just salespeople. It makes it easier for them. So I think it's a necessary thing to have because we don't have a lot of that sort of stuff happening in this area. It's a lot. Tends to be more bougie, salesy,
And that's, how does that make you feel? Like, I know we're getting into feelings and men don't like to talk about their feelings. But how does it make you feel when you're in that space and it feels like very transactional in business?
Good when I make a sale. but I don't like it. Like, it used to make me like really nervous just because like I'm having to sell myself and also they're selling me and that, like, I'm not gonna buy from someone I already have services through somebody else. I'm just not gonna do that, and it makes it like a little more nerve-wracking because it is like a salesy thing, and it's more surface level, and there's plenty of those groups that people that see me now and I met them 10 times and they're like, hey, have we met before? And I'm just like, that's why I burned your business card.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I like the word I used to say, I like to use is gross. It makes me feel gross. Like, it doesn't make me feel welcoming. Like, it makes me feel like I'm there to do something that makes me feel icky on the inside, as 12-year-old of a saying that is. But it's genuinely does not make me feel well. And I leave, every time I left those types of environments, I didn't want to go back. And I have to do this. We have to do networking.
Yeah.
So why not do it in a way that makes you feel good?
Yeah. So is there a way that because networking can be stressful on people that are more internally focused or whatever, that have some anxiety. I've struggled with anxiety over the years. I just have to like get over it. But is there anything that you're doing that can help get them? Or do you think like the strategy you're using is more inviting so they can start to open up and feel more comfortable?
So let me tell you a little story because when I started to do coffees for the Social Collective, the first one that we did, I remember I was very focused about saying hello to people. We had people at the door welcoming people in. And there was a woman, her name was Amy. And I had never met her before. I think I seen her in the group online. And as soon as she walked in, I just walked up to her and I was like, hey, how are you? Introduced myself. And I was very kind to her. And then passed her off. She went to somebody else. And later on that day, she came to me and she said, this was my first networking meeting other than the ones that made me stop networking.
Oh.
And I didn't want to come. And I felt very uncomfortable sitting in the parking lot, but I said, just go in. And the fact that you walked up to me and made me feel welcome made me come back. And she's been a sponsor at my events. Awesome. She comes to all the events. But the fact that in that moment, I recognized that there are just little things that you can do to make people who are introverts and don't want to be in that space, when they come in and they feel welcome and people talk to them and you're standing in, and I stole this from somebody. I don't remember who it was, but it makes a lot of sense. Don't be a donut, be a croissant, right? When you're standing in those rooms, make sure there's always a space for somebody to come in because it seems welcoming. When you're talking and you see people smiling and making eye contact and not standing in cliques. We don't do cliques within my group. Yeah. Then you feel like the vibe is different. I have to set that tone.
Absolutely.
As the person throwing the event. If I'm not setting the tone, nobody else around the room is going to be and feel it. So I think that to answer your question, yes, there are things that I do, but a lot of them are very subtle. And it's not something that you can kind of pinpoint when you walk into the room. It's just a vibe that is set with how people are interacting and how people are welcoming, and then how the event unfolds from start to finish. And it's sloppy because I'm new at it. I mean,
it's not to me, I wouldn't know it.
Thank you.
It kind of just, as we're talking about that, reminds me like being in churches, and I've been in churches that have done that very well, and I've been in churches that have done it very poorly. I mean, like when I was in high school, I didn't know anyone, started this new church, and it took me like a year till I got into the cool kids. But another church I went to, maybe I was already cool, but
I learned how to be cool.
But I learned that I can be engaging too and create that culture myself. Do you know what I mean? I can see the person standing on the wall and go talk to them.
Exactly. It's creating a culture.
Yeah.
And you can tell a culture. It's with work. It's the same thing. I got hired at this restaurant once. I'm going to be completely honest. I walked in. I got hired as a server. I'd been server before. It's not something that's new to me. I walked in and nobody greeted me. Long story short, within an hour, I walked out. And as I left, she was like, is something wrong? I was like, I can't work here. None of you seem happy. And I felt it within an hour of me being there. Nobody greeted me. Nobody said, I'm the new employee. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
But that's the culture that they have in that building.
Yeah.
And no matter what type of event or space or, company or business that you have, it has a culture. And I know how important that culture is because that's how people feel when they first walk in. And so if you want to, if feeling welcomed and making real connections, whether it be because it's not just about personal. We keep it focused on business, but there is an aspect of personal that has to go into business to make it feel good and to make, I wake up every day and there's not one day that I've woken up since I've started doing this where I'm like, God, I got to go to work today. Because
that's good.
I love it because I love what I do, because I love people, and I don't love everybody.
Yeah.
People are pains in the ass, just FYI.
I love them as the Lord tells me to. From afar,
Exactly. I
don't have to like everybody. Yeah.
And I don't, and everybody doesn't like me, but that's okay. I'm just trying to create a community of people that think the way that I do in regards to the service that they're providing in the spaces that they're entering.
Well, I think it naturally, by having a more charismatic leader, I'd say, that helps with drawing those other people that tend to be like that, or that are drawn to that sort of energy.
Yeah.
Some of the other ones that can be kind of on the lame side, you kind of have this like stale room that you feel. And not to say that there's not great people, but it's just it's a different vibe.
You feel different.
Another 12-year-old word.
Exactly.
I guess 17-year-olds say that
My
too.
vocabulary is not extensive. Yeah. Okay, I get most of the things that I have in my life off of my looks and my charm.
Yeah,
I've been called charming, but other than that, it's not.
I think so.
I'm super smart.
Yeah,
I don't have to be.
So, where did you grow up? Did you grow up out there, out in Colorado?
I am a military brat. Okay. So, born in Texas. So Texas, Germany, Georgia, and then my mom she was stationed in Fort Knox, Kentucky, and she retired when I was 13, and we moved to Louisville, Kentucky.
I was born there.
I'm sorry?
I was born there.
You're lying.
Yeah, I was 2. When we
Louisville.
moved, I was 2.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
that's where I tell people I'm from. That's home.
Okay,
so I lived there
awesome.
from 13 to 31. So
Nice.
I'm a huge Cardinal fan. You obviously have no idea what I'm talking about since you were only 2.
Yeah. But I mean, I know how to say Louisville.
There you go. Yeah. You said it the right way.
Yeah,
you're lazy.
Exactly.
Your tongue is super lazy and doesn't want to do anything. Welcome to Kentucky. But it's, so Kentucky. Then I moved to New Hampshire for a year and then moved back to Kentucky. Then I moved to Massachusetts, Houston, Texas, Albuquerque, New Mexico, Colorado, Colorado Springs, Colorado, and then we moved here in. Was that with Marriott
because they were moving you around?
Correct. So I worked for Island Hospitality,
sweet.
and would open hotels, close hotels. I moved around and traveled for them for 2 years, so I didn't have a home. I was just everywhere in the country. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, because I'm a military brat, I have this thing. I want to move every 2 years. I don't want to stay somewhere for too long.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I mean, I've been here most of my life, but I still want to leave.
Yeah. I mean,
I love to travel.
I always urge people to do it.
Yeah.
And it's because when you stay in one place for a long period of time, you think that's the world. And you
Yeah.
think that's how everybody operates.
Yeah.
And it's so not true. And just traveling around and seeing the world through the eyes of people who live in different places, I think it allows you to grow who you are as a person.
Yeah, go to a third world country
my
sometime and then
Yeah.
complain about, McDonald's or whatever.
Exactly.
You can
Or-
complain, but still.
I mean, for me, it's even being able to see poverty from, when we moved to Louisville, my mom was I love you, Mom, but I'm about to snitch, was very good at pretending to have money. We were broke as shit, but we pretended. So we lived in nice neighborhoods for as long as our landlord would allow us not to pay the rent. And then we had to move. But in that, right, so when we moved to Louisville, I was in 8th grade, and I remember I went to Mazik Middle School, and military school is different. Like you get, you're with all different types of people, colors and everything. Like it wasn't a thing. You get segregated by the rank that your parents are. That's it. And that's money, basically.
Yeah.
But when I was in Louisville, I recognized how segregated people were by race. And I didn't understand that because my mom's white, my dad's black. My stepdad, who has been my dad since I was 13, is Chinese, legitimately off the boat from China.
Okay.
So we have a very diverse family. But moving there, I remember walking up the steps to Mazik with my mom. She was going to register me. And Mazik it was right in the middle of the projects. So it was the hood, even though it was a magnet school, which means that there were rich kids that went to that school because they bussed them in. And I remember walking up and I'm like, Mom, am I going to get shot here? My mom was like, yeah, probably, like laughing. Like, yeah, it's real funny, Mom. But in that, I was able to live in the suburbs, right, with my mom. But I had friends who lived in the hood. And when I say hood, I mean, we walked upon, I remember this car was a block away and it came and it was like really driving really slow and we heard, and then it hit another car and we were like, what the hell? He had just gotten shot. We came across a drive-by shooting. And like stuff like that happened in the hood. Like when I say it's the hood, it was the hood. But I got to see the lives of how people in poverty lived, right? In like real poverty. And how people who were rich and how they had, middle class lives and things like that. So it
just on the other side of the train tracks kind of thing.
Like for real. Yeah. And it opened my eyes up on how different people live and think because of how they live. And so I have a lot of grace for people who don't live and have grown up like me, but have, even like people who are racist. Yeah. I have grace for them because I understand you grew up in this little spot and that's just the way that the world has taught you to be. Yeah. And so, but it doesn't mean that you can't change. And the bigger of an idea you have of the world, the better it is or the easier it is to change and get outside of that.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of like world travelers that are not well versed in how people react and stuff. I mean, they might be shitheads because they're rich, they're rich, Right. Yeah, so I mean that's an interesting perspective. Like I grew up like across town in Manassas, and we had some money, but I didn't grow up like I went to school with a lot more rich kids that were like down the parkway from me. So but I didn't know it. We could do whatever. I could get McDonald's. I didn't notice that we didn't have much money until all my friends had cable and we didn't. Right. And they had the good, Nintendo games and we didn't, like that sort of stuff. But that didn't really happen. Like going to private school, most of those parents like didn't have a lot of money, for whatever reason. So
they were spending it on your education.
Yeah, exactly. Like it was expensive, especially at the time. Right. So you have a son?
Yes.
Just one son?
Yeah.
How old is he?
He'll be 7 in May.
Okay.
Yeah. He was me nor Sean wanted to have kids. Okay. We were thinking we were going to be dinks, which is dual income, no kids, right?
Ooh,
sounds right. It's you. Sounds fabulous. I wanted your life. Yeah. Because I was making a lot of money and I was very career driven and children did not fit into that. And I feared a lot. I'm a very open person about myself too, by the way. So you'll hear a lot of stuff.
I noticed.
He's like, keep talking to me.
That's why you're here.
Right, good. I'll make things interesting. Yeah. So I thought I'd be a bad mom because my mom.
Why would you think that?
I didn't come from a family that was very well versed in emotional intelligence.
Okay. Is that how you developed it?
I developed it because I got sober.
Okay.
It'll be 10 years in April.
Oh, good for you.
And, thank you. And I had to learn how to function as an adult, like work through my emotions, work why I was using drinking as, a way to do anything and everything.
Yeah.
But I had to do a lot of work on myself. And so because I did a lot of work on myself, I saw how bad it was for when we were kids. Like I'm the middle of 5, so my mom's got 5 kids. And so I just didn't want to I saw the importance of a child, and I understood that when you have them, it's your job to mold them into adults. And that's a huge responsibility. And I didn't want it because it's a lot, dude.
Yeah,
like,
it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot.
People are like, I don't want kids. I'm like, I understand. I 100. It's not that you want to have more money and play around. It's a huge responsibility. And so, when I got pregnant, I was not going to have him. I was like, no. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
And I chose otherwise, and it's the best thing that I could ever do.
Yeah, that's what people say.
Yeah, it's so weird how he changed my life and my perspective on things.
Yeah,
so.
we have tried for a long time. We've done multiple rounds of IVF.
Really?
It just might not be in the cards for us. But, in the meantime, it is way cheaper.
Legit! Mike,
It is way cheaper. But, like, I think about, like, what am I going to do when I'm 80 and who's going to take care of me? And that sort of stuff. But, like, not to be selfish about it, but
AI robot.
I think I would have been a good dad or would be. So, like, I had great parents, like the portraits of how they should raise you and all that sort of stuff. Like, we didn't have as much money, but we had like the love and all that sort of stuff. So I knew what it looked like to be a good father, and I knew that I could do that. I know that I can do that. So if it happens, it happens. If
How old are you?
I'm 43.
Yeah, well, I'll be 43 this year.
Yeah, well,
you're a man.
Yeah.
I think, what was it, Robert De Niro had one at 70?
Yeah, but it starts to turn a point of like, well, am I going to be 50 starting a family? I'm not going to do that. So then, like, what does it look like, and how can I give back and like bless other people's kids, and maybe adopt a basketball player or something.
Good idea. Yeah. You get to choose.
He's 17.
There you go.
6'9".
I got you, son.
And he's good.
I got to help you out through college. Yeah. I got the path.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you just don't know, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're at 43 years old. Think back to when you were like 20.
Oh my gosh.
Did you ever think this is what you would be doing and what your life would look like?
Somewhat, but no.
Yeah,
I mean, like, because I always wanted to do music, so there's still part of that, but I always liked performative sort of artistic stuff. So it's definitely not what I thought. I thought I was going to be a rock star when I was 20.
Okay.
I was, going to be like Blink 182. Oh, thank you. I still play sometimes, but it's definitely not what I envisioned. I mean, when you're 20, it's like, you can only see like a year ahead of you, if that. I went to JMU for marketing and stuff like that. So it kind of makes sense that I minored in music industry and like recording and stuff, and it's the microphones and whatnot. So
you enjoy marketing?
I do, because I mean, there's only so many ways you can make money. But I always had to do it for my band anyway. Right. I had to learn, like, I was the guy who was like burning CDs all day, every night to try to give them out to people.
Yeah.
Like, I taught myself Photoshop and Illustrator and like and how do you do video editing and everything, all from doing that. So why not use those same services, for other people? There's parts of it I don't like, I mean, there's just something like that for everyone. But from what I was doing, like, I had a 9-to-5 for 15 years doing like more data sort of stuff. One of the things the company did was ringback tones. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah. They were like the main company that did that.
Really?
Yeah. So obviously it died.
I mean, yeah. Now nobody wants you to call them at all. Like, don't make my phone does not need to make any noises.
Yeah. So, So I had started working from home in 2016, and I was like, I never want to commute again if I don't have to. So like, what can I do? Yeah. And I made a website for my sister, and like that helped increase their revenue and stuff. So she had an auto shop with her husband. I was like, maybe this could be the thing that I do. So I started in 2018, and then in 2020 I lost that job. Of
course.
And so from COVID and it's ringback tones.
I mean, right.
It was declining sales over 12 years.
Very quickly. Right.
So, essentially at some point someone's going to be on the chopping block, and that was me at that time. So I just kind of went all in on this, and I don't regret it.
Good.
You know, I mean, there's still struggles for sure, but they're better struggles than they were 4 years ago.
It's a different struggle.
Yeah.
Right? Like with the hospitality industry, the reason I left is because I got promoted to take over 2 hotels 3 days back from maternity leave.
Oh, wow.
And so we moved to Colorado and I took over 2. And everything that could possibly happen happened. Like somebody committed suicide in one of the hotels. I got sued. I lost all of my management staff. Like one of the hotels flooded from the 7th floor down. Like it was.
You're not sleeping because you have a little baby.
Yeah. And I was stressed all the time. And I would get home and I wouldn't want to be a mom. And so I had to understand and make a decision like, do I leave this 20-year career that was me?
Yeah.
My career was who I was as a person. It was really hard to detach from that.
Yeah.
But I look back now at the insanity of what I gave. I gave my time, my effort, my tears, my sanity to that job, right? And to that career.
Any reason you think you did that? Because your identity was attached to it?
Because I made a lot of money.
Yeah.
I mean, I was making 6 figures when I left. I was driving BMW. I had nice things. I had a lot more money after I quit drinking. God,
Yeah.
I was
Oh my gosh, yeah.
yeah, I was one of those like bar people. I was like, I paid for everybody's tab.
Yeah.
And
Shots. There's 100 people here.
Like a shit. Like it'll be the bill. So,
Yeah.
and then the morning you wake up and you're like, what the hell did I do?
Yeah.
So I'm glad I stopped that. But it's one of those things that you lose the materialistic aspect of everything, right? Like in that time, like I went from making a lot of money and having a lot of materialistic things and valuing all of that. And now I literally live in a 36-foot travel trailer on a horse farm in
That's
Culpeper.
pretty awesome, though.
I have never been happier.
Yeah.
I've never been more at peace in my life. I've never been, and I would not be able to pursue a dream, and growing this business if I had my car payment still and my mortgage and all the bills that come with living the American dream with the white picket fence. I would not be able to do that right now. And now I live, and I wouldn't have understood how little I need to live, and all this stuff, because I have to I'm a hoarder, not really, but I like to purchase things, you know?
Yeah.
And so it's like, I can't have this, so I'm going to have to get rid of something.
Yeah.
And so I've learned how to live with less, but I think this is just preparing me to have more because I'm going to, money comes.
Right.
I'm a firm believer, money comes.
Yeah.
If you do it, but I want to be able to do what I love to do to get that money.
Right.
And that's just.
I'd rather be living minimal
legit.
And doing something I like doing than be rich and hate my life.
Exactly. Because I was there.
Yeah.
I remember we went to, I was working in Albuquerque and making a lot of money. And I went on a trip to the Azores.
6 figures in Albuquerque is good money.
In Albuquerque, I was making 80. I got 6 when I went over the 6 to be the GM of 2 hotels. And it was like, but 80 in Albuquerque is still like 6 figures anywhere else. Because it is so cheap to live in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We went me and my sister went on a trip twice in that year to the Azores Islands in Portugal.
Nice.
One of the most beautiful places I've ever been.
Yeah.
And I remember I got there 2 days earlier than she did. So I was by myself. And I was, just being a tourist and doing things on my own. And I just felt so empty. And I was like, is this what people do? Like, I'm on vacation in a beautiful place. I have everything I absolutely could. I'm a picture of success. And I was so empty.
Yeah.
So empty. And I was just remember feeling so... I knew something had to change. I just didn't know what was going to change.
Right.
And I think...
So it was a blessing to have lost the job?
This past job, absolutely.
Yeah.
Hindsight's 2020. In the moment...
Well, it's terrifying.
I will say this. I'll be honest. When I got fired, because they called me in at the end of the day, and I didn't know it was coming. I'd had the owner in my office 2 weeks before that telling me what a great job I was doing.
Oh, yeah.
His daughter had come in and had interviewed with everybody because she was going to start working and said that I was the most knowledgeable person in that building about their job. And I went from, I had 5 people on my staff. I'm used to having 30 to 100 people on my staff and managing a multi-million-dollar building. This is cake.
Yeah.
So I thought I was doing a great job. And they called me in the office at the end of the day and sat me down, and they were like, we're going to let you go. And I was like, what? I was so flabbergasted.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, you're just not a right fit. And the fact that somebody could let you go, right? Because I was under the impression I'd fired many people in my life, many. And how I got to the point where I was okay with that, right? Because you're taking away somebody's livelihood.
Yeah.
Is I was under the belief that people fire themselves. I don't fire you. I give you what you need to do the job.
Yeah.
And you do the job. If you don't do the job, then I
obvious that I could tell you didn't do the job.
Yeah. And then you go. And then you no longer have a job. That's just A plus B equals C. And this to me was like quantum physics. I was like, how the hell are you firing me and I'm doing a good job?
Yeah.
Hindsight, yes, I was not the right fit. They were a very small mom and pop place. I come from corporate. I understand that corporate works in a certain way because they have already been through the trials and tribulations of somebody suing you, of somebody being dead because something didn't happen the way that they needed it to happen. So they have all these rules in place. And when you're a mom and pop, you don't know that yet. You haven't been through that. And so, but in the moment, it felt like the end of the world. And if it weren't for my son, I'm being completely honest, I probably would not be here because I was so, it wasn't me losing a job. It was me being told I wasn't good enough.
Probably would have started drinking again.
I never thought about it.
Yeah.
Since I quit drinking, the day I quit drinking,
Yeah.
I've never thought about drinking again. I've thought about jumping off a bridge, but I haven't thought about drinking again.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it's drinking. That part's it's a really odd God moment, if you will. I think a core belief was made that day is that drinking will never be the answer to anything that happens to me in my life ever again. And once that belief was set, I've never struggled with drinking.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, it's weird.
Especially all these networking things. A lot of them have drinks around and stuff.
It doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah.
Like I drink non-alcoholic beer. I'll have one, and I'm like, oh, because I really like the taste of IPA.
Yeah.
And the first time I
one
tried,
of the few.
right.
You either love it or you hate it.
Correct.
Yeah.
I like the tightening of the jaw when you first see. You're like, oh, that's happy. Love it. I was very paranoid when I first tried it was 8 years of sobriety before I had my first non-alcoholic beer. And it was the only reason I tried it because it was IPA, and I was like, I loved the taste of IPAs. I was like, well, is this going to open the door to me drinking and me wanting?
Yeah.
And now I look at it like a Diet Coke. I love Diet Coke, and I can have my Diet Coke if I drink my water through. If I have my 64 ounces of water, I can have my Diet Coke, right?
I'm getting into it.
Right. I love my Diet Coke. IPA, non-alcoholic beer, is just like I can have one.
Yeah, there's no difference.
Yeah, and I'm just like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
Like I'm not fiending to have it. I'm like, oh, I really would like to have. It's weird. It was weird at first because you don't get a buzz because you're used to this equals this.
Yeah.
Right? There comes a feeling. There's no feeling. And so it's just like I'm enjoying a beverage.
Right.
And it was like, oh, this is a responsible thing. Like
Yeah.
This is what normal people do. They can have one.
They can have one.
I am not a normal drinker.
I'm not either.
I am not either. You said you sing, but do you play instruments or anything?
I play guitar, some piano, bass, mostly guitar.
Yeah.
I've been trying to learn piano, but it's tough to do. With the
music.
business, but I have this app called Musician that it's kind of like Rock Band, but with a real piano. So everything comes across the screen and you play along.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. It's like 100 some bucks a year.
That's not bad at all.
No, so if you did want to learn, that's
how to type.
Yeah. I mean, I did. What was that called? What was that lady's name called? You're my age.
What lady?
No,
Was she a type
the typing lady. I want to say Mabel or something like that.
I think I know who you're talking about because I had a computer class with typing that had that lady on the.
Yeah. She was nice.
Yeah.
When you were good. When you're good at it.
She shamed you.
Yeah. So are there any lessons that you've had so far from starting Grow?
Definitely.
Anything?
Most definitely. The first event that I did for Grow, I had sponsors. And I had people RSVP. It was a Halloween thing, a happy hour. And I put a lot of effort into it and a lot of time and a lot of thought. And then the day comes and 18 people showed up. Oof. And when you're in a big space, like if your space is large, 18 people looks like nothing.
Yeah, I've played shows like that.
But if you're in 18 people in this room,
we're popping, dog. Let's
party
go.
was great.
House party.
Exactly. So but what happened is I ended up not, I'm sorry. I was so bummed out about there not being the amount of people that I thought should be there that I didn't focus on providing the type of event that I wanted to provide to the people who did show.
Yeah.
And so in that, I ended up giving people some of their money back, and most of them were like, "Why are you giving me money back?" And I'm like, "Because I don't feel like I provided what I told you I would provide for you. So there was no point in me taking your money for that." So I lost money on that. But moving forward, I realized that I have to focus not on the number of people, but the quality of the event. That's the only thing that I can control. And the numbers will come over time. 100%.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened. Like my first 2 coffees, I had like 15 people, and then I had 18 people. I don't even think it was that. I think I had 15 and I had 13. Like it went down. And then this recent coffee that I had at the Art Factory where I saw you and like, for the first time in a very long time, I had like 44 people. And so but nothing changed from the type of the quality and the type of things that I want people to do when they're there.
Right.
People are still making connections. I've started to grow off of that to where it's like, okay, so what are the problems people are having? And one of the things that I started to do was that follow-up calendar. Because I was like, people are not they're meeting people at these events and they're exchanging cards, but then they're not doing anything after.
Right.
And the power and the magic, as they say, excuse me, is in the follow-up.
Yeah.
Because that's where you get to know the person. That's where you get to figure out, like, if you know anybody that can do and utilize their business or vice versa.
Well, just to know the person that when you see them, you like when you go to another networking event, how are you doing?
Right.
You know?
Right.
And that, I mean, you can go to, like I said, that person before, they saw me 10 times and they didn't recognize me for the 11th time. So what's the point? Like
most people are like, what do you do? Especially when I was working for Sean. To this day, I remember Cindy introduced me. She was like, and she had known me. She was like, this is Tiffany, and she is fabulous. She had no idea what I did. And so it's like, I get it. I get it. So I'm trying to create solutions for the problems that people are having to make networking a more enjoyable and lucrative thing for you to do. And it not just be, I'm just going to this other networking event so I can hand out my business cards.
Right.
I want it to be something that's memorable and something that feels good. So
what are you doing to like get the word out to people? Like when an event is happening?
I need to do more, to be completely honest. I'm not the best at that part, like the marketing aspect of it. I really just, we go on Eventbrite and our events are posted on Eventbrite. I have an email list, but my happy hours and my coffees don't go out with my email list because I don't like to bombard people.
Yeah.
Usually it's just being part of the Facebook group. And then it's being able to see the organic happening. I met with a guy named Jose. I call him Jose B because I know another Jose. And he was like, well, he's Jose. You can call me Jose B.
Ibarra? Is that?
Yes.
Yeah.
With the power washing. Lovely human being.
Yeah.
But he was like, I was like, so how'd you hear about me? And he was like, oh, well, Steven with Titan Jetters posted some of the stuff on his personal page about your group, and I saw you, and I was like, well, who's this woman? And then he added me to the group, and then I was like, I need to go to these networking events, and then I showed up, and I loved it. Yeah. And that is exactly, it's like in real time being able to meet with somebody who organically found you the way that you want them to find you.
Right.
It has been a slow process, right? Because the events get posted. I would love for it to be bigger, but I also don't want to grow the events too big, you know? So, I mean, if you have any recommendations on how I should be doing it.
Well, I think if you know enough people that are going to show up consistently, that helps like continue the culture so that when new people come, then it continues to expand.
Right.
Not selling myself, but if you did get to the point that could do like text messages and stuff. So I'm in a whiskey club as well, and we're just moving to that. We have monthly events. Previously on Facebook, the attendance is low because not everyone sees it. Right. But everyone would see a text message. Right. For sure. So once you get to that point that you're ready to think about, at least for bigger events that you're trying to like sell tickets to or whatever, it would be nice to have a system.
So let me ask, does that bother people?
What, text messages?
Yes. That's the only thing.
I can unsubscribe at any point.
That's true.
I think it's annoying. Like there's this swimsuit company called Chubbies. I get like three of their text messages a week.
Oh wow, that's a lot.
It's a lot. It's way too much. But every once in a while, it's 40% off.
Yeah.
You know, I don't even think I bought anything, but I'm just like
mean,
kind of too lazy to do it. But I don't think it's bad if it's done. Like, especially if it's a monthly event and I signed up for those messages, because I'm not going to see it on Facebook. And I don't like being tagged as everyone sometimes.
And I do that. I don't do
I'm
it
not blaming, I'm not saying you're bad.
No, but I do that.
But I'm getting, 50 a day sometimes when people are really going at it. So it's like, but if I get a text message from something that I have subscribed to, it's a little bit different. And I want to go to that event anyway.
Yeah.
I think there is, I know what you mean. There's a possibility of it getting annoying and like pushing the boundary of respecting people.
Only when we have events, then at least people can be like, oh, there's an event. Let me put it on my calendar.
Right.
And it doesn't leave, because I'm just trying to, and I think that's a great idea, because I'm trying to make it easier.
Yeah.
For people to participate. Like, don't make it harder for them to participate. Don't make it harder for them to give you money. Yeah. Right? That's one of Sean's big things. Don't make it hard for people to give you money. But don't make it hard for people to participate. Mm-hmm. And that's what I want. And make it really valuable so they want to participate in the ways that you make it easy for them to do so. Right. So I think that's a great idea.
Yeah. Well, when you get there, we can chat about it offline.
I mean, why not be there now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So for becoming, is this two things. One, what do you see the growth of growth? And then how do you see that going to play a role into the public speaking? And when do you see that actually in your eyesight for happening?
That's a really good question. Okay. So I am not a small dreamer. Mm-hmm. If your dreams don't scare you, then
I was going to call Tony Robbins and just let him know that you're available.
Yeah. I would be like, yeah, Tony, what do you got for me? I would probably tank on stage right now, but great. Grow is going to be B&I.
Okay.
So, and by that, I don't mean seat specific or how they're structured at all. Mm-hmm. What I mean is you can go anywhere in the country and open a B&I.
Okay.
So I want it to be that. I want it to be structured in a way where we have memberships, right? Mm-hmm. You pay a monthly fee to be a member, where you get all different types of value measurements. And it's a community, and you know what to expect when you go to a Grow event or you participate in their networking or you're a member. You know that you're a type of person that is a Grow person. Right. And I want it to be all across the country, and I want it to be not franchised.
There's no reason you can't.
No, absolutely not. It's going to take a lot of work.
Yeah.
And
I think it's really figuring out the systems, because we've thought about the same thing for the Whiskey Club and the previous, the president, he passed away unfortunately, but we had talked about having different chapters of Old Town Whiskey Clubs all along Old Towns on the East Coast. But you really have to get the systems dialed in so you can put in place, Joe Schmo, who's going to be the next president of that chapter. And then we're just giving him the keys and that's
you're doing you're doing everything that Grow does. Yeah. In a way that people
This is how we do it, Montel Jordan. I was a DJ for quite a while too.
I was going to say, I love it though. I love it. Now you're going to have that song stuck in my head.
Perfect.
Thank you.
But that really is the thing. So if you can figure that over the next year or two, then, that's
the direction.
To the moon.
Yeah.
So it's kind of figuring out, we're going to have X amount of sponsored events a year or however many monthly events. And this is giving them like their, Canva templates and stuff like that would be good. And stuff that you're not recreating the wheel. They're just, you got to find someone who's a you in another place.
Correct. And which is doable because, I'm not unique. I am not a snowflake, as they say. Yeah. I am what I want. And that's what I'm figuring out. And I think the hardest part when I first started is that I wanted these things. This is how I want to network, right? I'm not unique in that. It's scary because you think I'm the only one that feels this way when I go into networking events. I'm the only one that wants to go.
Boring people started networking.
Oh my God. You're like, this is it. I got to do this every day. Yeah. And I know that there are other people who obviously, because we've gone from, I started the group in October or maybe August. And we went from 0 members to almost 800 members now.
That's awesome.
And, does everybody participate? No.
Yeah.
But there still are a lot of people who do participate and who are showing up every day. If you go into my Facebook group and compare it to any other networking Facebook group out there, it is completely different. And the reason it's different is because people engage.
Yeah.
There's almost no engagement in other groups unless you have somebody posting an ad for their business.
Yeah.
That is how people engage.
Well, I think forcing the one-to-ones creates more engagement too, because I forgot to take a photo. We got to take a photo before you leave. For sure.
I am so bad at that. I had a one-on-one yesterday, completely forgot.
Yeah, we got to make sure to do that before we forget. So how is that all this going to move you into the public speaking?
Because of the events.
Okay.
So just the same as the panel event, right? I'm hosting that. I'm in front of people. The next thing that I want to transition into that somebody else is pushing me, not pushing, she's very consistently suggesting it.
Okay, yeah.
Is that I have a class where I am teaching people how to network and how to do it in this way.
What about a course?
Exactly. Well, because she keeps saying the word coaching. I shan't ever be a coach.
Yeah.
I tried it out, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to live that life. I don't want to tell people what to do. I want you to come and watch me speak about something and then go away and take with it what you want.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to sit with you and pressure you into doing something you don't want to do.
Right.
And I'm doing a talk for a college class on Monday.
Okay, cool.
And then I've signed up for Carmen and Nick's because of why, and I'm teaching their students about networking.
Yeah.
So that is going to be a platform for me to put my spin on how to network and how I think, number one, how valuable it is, but also how to do it in the way where it feels organic and it feels nice. It feels like you can do it more often, because the hardest part about networking, even for me to this day, is getting out of the car. It's easier now, but there are still moments where I'm sitting in a car at a networking event and I'm like, I don't want to do this. And the reason I want to do it is
people's entrance music as they get out of their car.
Yeah, like
they can have whatever they want.
That's a really good idea. I wonder if we could do that. Right. It's like, I'm all about outside the box. Yes, absolutely. Oh, that's a great idea. Theme music. But getting out of the car and going in, and it's because it's uncomfortable. Who am I going to meet? Who am I going to, and if you feel, this is a huge thing for me, if you feel like you can't be yourself, if you feel like you have to put on a mask, if you feel like you have to become somebody that you are not in those spaces, it becomes really hard to do.
Yeah.
And I want people
exhausted when you get home.
Oh my God, it feels like a workout,
and
not a workout where you feel great when you're done. It's a workout where you're like, ugh, God, that felt really gross. I don't want, and I still, me being a black woman, okay, I'm going to throw it in there. Me being a black woman, I have to, as norm, it's the norm that I walk around a little more or a little less who I am every day, right? A little bit, you're not, who you see right now is not 100% who Tiffany is, right? Because I am, now if you were black and we didn't have these phones, you would see 100% who Tiffany is, very animated, the way I say things comes out, certain words come out, mannerisms come out, that's Tiffany 100%. But that Tiffany is
I can hang.
You could. Eventually you might.
Yeah.
If I drop a certain word in front of you, you know that I'm super comfortable. But I have to conform that, right? And I've gotten used to that. But I understand the toll that it takes not being able to present yourself as who you are. Now, yes, we have professional Tiffany, we have professional Mike, we have, the people that you present, like who you present to people in a certain space. I understand that. But there are a lot of people who feel awkward being themselves in these spaces because they feel like they won't be accepted. They feel like they won't be understood. And it keeps them from doing business. Because again, people do business with people they like. And if you're presenting me with somebody that you are not, I automatically probably won't like you.
Yeah.
And so if you don't have a space where you feel like you can be yourself, whether it be your front-facing self or your backstage self, your front stage or backstage. If you are not in a space where you can't be yourself, you're going to have a harder time doing business and growing your business and selling things for your business.
Yeah.
So it's just, for me, it's about creating spaces where people feel comfortable. And as awkward as they may be, because people are awkward, people just have quirks. I have quirks, but I create that for other people because I'm so open about my mess and who I am as a person.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I just think that people deserve to be able to be who they are all the time.
Have you thought about, getting out of the car thing, stealing something from churches where they have greeters?
I have thought about
greeters. Or a greeter, someone that's not the same person every time, but someone that is, I see you in your car, get out here.
Come on. Yes. But what stops me from that? And you're going to be like, Tiffany, I have a hard time asking for help because it would be me saying, hey, Mike, you're coming to the event. Can you be one of my greeters? Mm-hmm. I have a very hard time asking for help. And if it's not received automatically as enthusiastic, yes, then and that's something I need to work on.
Right.
So I'd hate asking people for help
because it feels like rejection if someone just says they can't do it,
yes, and not rejecting what I'm asking. I feel like they're rejecting me.
Yeah,
and I have a heart. It's something I'm working on, intentionally, because I understand. Even people telling me no. I've had somebody. I have this new panel. And because it's it's paid because it's marketing. I am marketing for you. Mm-hmm. And I think you get with what we've added from the first panel to the second panel, astronomical. I'm like, wow, we did a really good job for the packaging on this. And for how much it is, I don't think that it's a lot for what we're giving and what they're getting. Mm-hmm. But somebody I presented it, and I think a lot of people think it's free. And so then when they're like, yeah, I'll do it. And you present it as a package, and they're like, oh, never mind. And I'm not, and in my mind, I'm like, they're saying no to me. And it's not me. They just don't find value in it.
Right.
And that's okay. I can create value, or somebody else will find value in it. But having the rejection as a business owner, dude, you deal with it all the time.
Yeah.
You have
to get used to it, get thick skin. But, when it comes to some sort of volunteer help, you could probably find some.
Oh, I could.
Or just let the general public know that there is a need, or what. I'm not saying you have to do my idea. What I'm saying is
no, I think that this is it. I hope I don't have to pay you for this. So don't charge me for these ideas.
I mean, maybe if I have a booth or something, I don't know. We'll figure it out. Some way to promote the business.
A marketer.
What's the point?
Okay.
So I'm always going to come up with stuff like that because like I said, I had to sell tickets to my friends. Yeah. I don't want to have to do that again. So how do you sell tickets to people you don't know or stuff like that? It's just, you have to think of stuff that's interesting for them or inviting,
And that's what we were talking about earlier, off camera, is how do you get around the salesy aspect of it? Mm-hmm. And for me, it is being so attractive that people, they would think, oh, I'm dumb if I don't buy that. Yeah. And it's creating value. And that is what I have really put a huge effort of the foundation. If you say there's one word other than grow that describes grow, it's value. I want to provide so much value that people will think it's dumb for them not to participate. In that value providing, I sometimes sell myself short.
Yeah.
Number one, because I want people that are not as established in their business to be able to participate. Mm-hmm. But I also want people to understand that value also has money attached to it. Right. You have to put money in if you want to get something out. Yeah. And you can't expect everything to always be for free. Right. And you're investing. I want people to understand that this networking, marketing, you're investing in yourself and you're investing in your business. Mm-hmm. And if you don't find value in it because you don't get an immediate return on it, then that might be a mindset that needs to change, because I don't know how many things with marketing, just like you said with SEO and all of that you're going to find something immediately going to get a return on it. I don't know if that's how things work.
Not typically.
No.
Even though my early clients thought so.
I think most people think that's
I had to learn to, teach some expectations about what you're doing and how you're investing it and stuff.
Right.
I like the youngins and the OGs. Was that what it was?
Yeah.
I thought that was good.
The OGs
Newbies
and the
yeah.
newbies,
So I thought that was good. I wonder if in part of this to have some sort of mentorship sort of aspect to it could be cool.
That's actually a plan too, because
Cool.
again, what I'm trying to construct is a membership.
Yeah.
And what would be valuable in membership. And I think the mentor aspect is a huge value, not just for people who need mentorship. I need a dang mentor right now. I was thinking the other day, I was like, who could be my mentor? I haven't ran into
Tony
anybody.
Robbins.
Right, for real. That would be great. I don't have millions to hire that man.
See you.
Right. But the mentorship is not just for the people who need a mentor.
Yeah.
It is so great to be able to give your advice and your knowledge and all the things that you have acquired over the years as a business owner to somebody else and watch them learn and grow from it. So there's a mashup, but that is a part of the value stack that I want to put into the membership for Grow, along with a mastermind. Because I was thinking one of the questions you gave me, and I was like, oh God, am I going to be able to answer that? Because I don't look at things that people get from Grow as money. Like I haven't started tracking the aspect of money yet. So I was like, well, how can I see how people are finding it valuable? But I just popped in my head. There was a lady that I know, and we were having a conversation about one of her businesses, because she has multiple. And she was like, and we weren't talking because about this. It just came in conversation. And she was like, yeah, I think I'm going to have to shut it down in the new year if it doesn't start producing. And I was like, well, let me see what I can do. I was like, let me see if I can find a way to help you. And because I don't want you to shut it down. Like I want you to be able to make money from this because you invested already, whatever. And so I stopped talking to her and I was doing something. And then the word mastermind came up in something I was reading. I was like, well, what if we get different people from different types of businesses, like a marketing person, a salesperson, a service person, a customer service person. What if we get them together and we have a mastermind for her and we all just think about things and ways to help her business grow in this next.
That's a great value, honestly.
Right. And we did. So I asked her, would you want to participate in that? And she was like, absolutely. So I got all these people together. It was 6 of us total. And we sat on a Zoom call and we talked about her business. And in the back and forth and the ideas and everybody talking and throwing out their ideas, one of the people were like, they looked at her website and they were like, hey, it doesn't have this thing. And she was like, oh yeah, I don't have that. And they were like, you probably want to have so she could collect. So the person could call. It was like a prompt that the person, as soon as they come on, they can call or contact. Yeah, an action step or whatever. She did that. And the next day, she had like two calls, 2 clients booked. And in that time frame, it was just a 2-month period since we did that mastermind with her. She went from not even having 2 clients, I think, a month or 2 bookings a month to having like 8 bookings a month.
That's awesome.
Just from something that simple because somebody's looking from the outside coming in.
Yeah.
So it's a huge value, for people to have. And we're going to try to put that as part of.
Yeah, I'd love to be able to help.
Please, because you're marketing.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And we always need people to come in and give their insight.
Yeah.
You as a marketer you're not going to do things exactly the same way as another person who does what you do.
Yeah.
And having 2 people in the same room or in the same, community that can look at things from a different angle, but still with marketing is so valuable.
And you can only learn so much about anything, right?
Yeah.
So I started off kind of being a jack of all trades, doing websites, SEO, graphic design, all this sort of stuff. And I still dabble a little bit in all of it. But someone else is going to have a different skill set and they're going to be good at something else that I'm not good at. So I got over that fairly quickly because, you can be in a band, but you're not going to be the same as that other band, and you can both play together and have have a great show. So
and you both will benefit from it.
Yeah.
Right? Because you're exposing each other to the other person's audience.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that we had the coffee that you came to was the competition versus collaboration over competition.
Yeah.
Because I think so many people go into these spaces and they're like, oh, well, there's already somebody here that does bookkeeping, so I can't be here. No.
Right.
And you can actually have a one-on-one with that person, and you don't know, they might be working with somebody who needs somebody that has your expertise and they can pass to you.
Right.
And you might be working with somebody who doesn't like the way that you communicate, but you still want to help them, so you pass them to them.
Yeah.
You don't know where your business is going to come from.
Right.
Like if you get into this stuck mindset that you know everything and you already know your exact clientele and who you want to connect with and what person's going to help you in your business, I don't think you're going to be able to grow as quickly as if you just open your mind up to accepting all possibilities that might come your way. So
And having an abundance mentality. Yeah, right?
that is it.
Once you get, there's enough for anyone.
everybody.
Yeah.
But Mike, how many people have you met networking that do not have that thought process, that are like, no, I need it all?
I tend to stay away from them.
Me too.
I'm immediately repelled from
Me
them.
too.
So I'm like,
they are not the ones that need, and I have, if I'm being completely honest, because it's the back end of Grow, I've removed people from the group who have that mentality, who don't understand how to participate and engage, and don't like that we are about growing each other and not competing against each other. And
that's BNI folks.
Legit. You know what? BNI works for a lot of people.
Yeah. I've considered going to some, but I don't like the competition thing. I also don't like the first thing in the morning.
Yeah, I don't like the have to.
Yeah, I don't like the have to.
Don't tell me I have to be somewhere.
Yeah, that's a lot for anything. Like life comes up, and I have to find a substitute.
I don't have time for that.
I don't either.
I don't have time for that. I don't care how many burritos you're going to give me.
They're at like 7 in the morning. That means I got to get up at 5. I go to bed at midnight.
Right.
I don't work where am I going to sleep?
I go to bed at 8, 7 or 8 o'clock. Don't judge me. I went to bed at 6:30 last night. Okay. Yeah. Don't judge me. I was really tired.
Right.
But I wake up at 4 in the morning.
Oh, well, that's different.
So, yeah.
Right? Yeah, it's very different.
But that's the thing, is I don't want to have to be somewhere. I don't want you to tell me I have to recommend this person. What if I don't like them? Well, what if I know they suck? But because I'm in this group.
But what if I have other clients that do different things. I have to say use my client first. I'm not going to say to use anybody else.
Right.
So, for me, it would be fairly difficult.
But, there are people who it benefits a lot.
Yeah.
And again, everybody there is no one thing that fits everybody.
Right.
And some people network really well in those settings. Some people like that structure. Some people like and they make so much money off of it.
Yeah.
Cool. You go do that. Tiff ain't gonna be doing that.
Right.
I like to do it this way. Some people like to go do the 30-second spiel, and they don't want to know anything about you.
Yeah.
They don't want to tell you anything about them. They probably have dead bodies in their basement. Yeah. I've come to that conclusion.
Probably. I watch a lot of true crime, by the way.
Me too.
I was just watching one earlier.
Dateline is my jam. It's my favorite one. Dateline in 2020.
Yeah.
I've watched all the episodes almost. Okay. So, but yeah, that's the thing, is like it's fine. So I'm building a community of people who appreciate the things that I appreciate.
Yeah.
And I can say, I do not think that we're the majority. I don't. But that does not mean that we're not abundant.
Well, there's how many millions of people in this area? It doesn't take that long for it to be popping.
No,
you know what I mean?
And it's going to.
Yeah.
And I see it. And I see that people want it. And I have to keep going in the direction that I'm going. And it's very easy, to get discouraged. And I think in anything that you're doing, it's easy to get discouraged. It's easy for people to tell you that you're not, your dream is too big, or, the first question everybody always asks me about what I do. Yeah. How do you get paid? Everybody.
The gall.
Normal people, like strangers. They're like, oh, so you network for a living? How do you get paid? Yeah. And I'm like, I do. Not a lot, but I do. And I'm working towards the getting paid
Once
part.
you get to the membership part, that's
it's going to be cake, really. But I have to do.
And do you have your idea? You don't have to say it down, but do you have your ideas of the price points and the different things that people will get?
I do. And it's really inexpensive.
Yeah.
And I've had every single person I've told how much the entry fee monthly is going to be. They're like, you need to make more money.
Yeah, that's why I say don't mention it now. So
I said no. And the reason I'm saying no is because I don't want people to think about it.
Yeah, we talking like Netflix, or we talking Hulu with Disney Plus and ESPN? Those are two different large price points.
I would say Because I'm thinking, how much is my Netflix bill? Not that low.
They keep raising it.
Man, I'm like, guys, you've not changed anything about Netflix.
Want to add another user? No,
Yes,
I think
no,
you
it's
put
just
this on
me.
50 TVs before.
It's just me. Like, but Hulu, I'm stuck with the Hulu thing because I'm like, I really only watch 2020.
Yeah.
And other murder shows that come on, like
Yeah.
I don't need Disney. Well, I kind of do. Liam watches it, but I use my sister's Disney account.
Yeah.
I don't need an extra one.
Yeah.
But now don't hold me to this, but I think that a good monthly fee is like $35 entry.
That's okay. That's what we charge.
Yeah.
For the whiskey club.
I don't think that it's something.
What do you
people don't
get
have
from
to
that? Just a chance to come? Do you get like
No, you
food
get-
or?
Well, 35 is for a completely different online platform that
Okay.
you get to participate and
Okay.
win things and
Okay.
engagement and get access to certain things. And
Do you
that's
have what that platform is yet? If
I
not,
was going to use school because
let's talk.
do they?
No, let's talk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He said let's. I thought you said
So
suck.
Bright Leads we're an go high level agency. Mm-hmm. It can do everything that school can do.
Really?
But it can do all the text messages and all that sort of stuff too.
Really?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we really do.
Automated payments, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
event
so-
payments, event RSVPs, all
We'll
that
have
sort
to.
of stuff.
I'll have to talk to you off camera, or you can edit it out. I don't care because I don't want anybody to steal my ideas.
Yeah.
But I want it to be the reason I like the school idea is because it's a leaderboard type deal,
It has that.
and the more people engage and participate, the more they get. And I wanted it to be half of everything that comes in goes back into the community. So let's say we have 100 members in that month, and they're all paying $35. I am going to tier it, but let's say they're all paying $35. So that's $3,500 a month. Half of that $3,500 goes to me because I need to get paid.
Yeah, yeah.
And the other half goes back in with scholarships, with, helping people pay for certain things, with, lunch and learns, whatever it may be, because I want to make it affordable and I want it to be more of a quality and quantity. And the reason we can have so much quality and provide so much quality is because we're getting more people to participate.
Yeah.
And so, if you're getting paid $35 and you have 500 people, I have 800 people in the group.
Right.
If even half of them, 200, I can't do it, 400 people. I was going to 250. Where is your math? 400. So if you have 400 people paying $35 a month, I don't know what the math on that is, but it's a lot. It's enough money for me to live.
I mean, it's over 10 grand.
Legit.
Yeah.
And then half of it goes back into that's $5,000 that can go to a restaurant that needs it because we got scholarships. So therefore we're giving gift
The
cards.
scholarship
to people.
goes to do one of the master classes if they're struggling. That
Legit.
you're able to give them
Right.
whatever training they need and stuff like that.
Right. There's just so much that you can do because I really want the basis, and this is what helps me sleep at night, and it's what helps me get up every morning and do this. It has to be service.
Yeah.
I was driven by money the whole time I was working for Sean because money was the thing. It was like, oh, I'm going to go and network, and then I need to sell, and I was driven by money. When the money wasn't there, I didn't want to be there.
Right.
So I need to be driven
Yeah.
by something else. And what drives me, and it sounds really corny, and it sounds, idealistic or whatever you want to say. But what drives me is service, right? Like one of the things that I learned in recovery, right? Because I got sober by going to Alcoholics Anonymous.
Okay.
I don't go anymore. But I
I don't
there's
think you have to.
no, God, they're getting
You want
turned
to talk
into a
about
cult.
bad networking?
Man, there are people in there. It's like, look here, Bob. You've been here 25 years and you still have not developed any type of emotional intelligence whatsoever. But you're sober, so you're winning.
Yeah, good for you.
So for me, one of the things that I learned is like anytime that I'm in a space where I'm not feeling great about myself or I'm having a bad day or whatever, I know to get out of that, I have to be of service to other people. So if I base my business and I base my life, that's why our first book club book was, The Go-Giver. And it's basically how you base your business on giving to other people.
Okay.
And I love that idea. And it feels good to me because I feel like there's enough for everybody. And I feel like I want to help And I'm lying if I say I want to help everybody. I want to help people who want to help themselves and have the same ideas
absolutely.
I do. You know, I'll be honest enough and say that because I'm not a perfect person. Like I haven't.
But there's plenty of those people that are struggling
100%.
that need help. I thought about doing, like a sponsorship every year to like kind of a marketing package, but it has to be tiered because I'll do the main upfront work, but if you can't do the rest of it, then I don't know.
Right. I'm not trying to help people.
It depends on the person.
Right.
Could I help you make a website for someone that it's really terrible, but they're great people, and it's just like that's our scholarship for the year?
Right.
I'd be willing to do that, but you have to judge your people properly.
But this is the thing too, and this is how Grow would work. So let's say that $5,000, right? And you're on the leaderboard, and for that month, you're the top 3. So basically, that $5,000 gets split between first, second, and third place. I'm buying your services to give to somebody else.
Oh, okay.
So you're not doing it for free.
Yeah.
You did it.
Yeah, that's great.
I'm giving you money, and then somebody else within that group who really needs you, they get to go in for a drawing, and we'll draw somebody that needs those services, and they get that scholarship to you. So you get the money. Yeah. They get
still
the
get paid, and they get the service. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's going, and so that way, say you're paying $35 a month, and you don't use shit because people do that, right? I always equate it to Planet Fitness. I joined Planet Fitness for $10, right? I went for a month. 5 years later.
Oh, they got you.
For 5 years. You know why? Because I was like, it's $10.
Right.
I'm going to go. I might go next month. It'll be there.
Yeah.
$35 for something, and you know that half of that $35 is going back into the community, and people are getting something for it. You're not going to think about it every month. Yeah. You're going to be like, it's going to a good cause.
Right.
And that's the idea, is that it be such a low entry fee that you're not thinking about it's hurting your pocket. You can't afford it. You got to think about gas or whatever. And so you, as a budding, growing business person, you can be part of it. But also that half of it is going to something back into the community.
And you could tell those stories of the people and stuff too. And that gets more people wanting to be a part of it and everything. Yeah.
Right. And then we grow.
Yeah. And
I make more money.
I think that's a great segue too. So how can people how can people get involved? How can they find out stuff? Like, do you have all the handles and all that sort of stuff? Mainly just a Facebook group for now? That's the main
Facebook group. Yeah. I just got thegrownetworking.com.
Okay.
Just like Megan the Stallion and also Tiffany, or it's the Tiffany Ball.
Okay.
So you can go there, and that way you have access to our events on Eventbrite. I would very much appreciate people on Eventbrite to follow us, and that way you get emails from them whenever we post events that way. And then being an active part in the Facebook group, which is Grow Networking. And, I'm going into Instagram. I'm starting to do that. God forbid.
Well, Brandy's great at it, so she can
teach you. Who do you think is teaching me?
Perfect. That's perfect. Yeah.
So I'm like, that's why we're friends. So you can be my Instagram teacher. Not at all.
Instagram mentor.
Exactly. But she does it so well.
Yeah.
So well. And so I'm learning how to do it with her. I'm not a social media person. I'm learning how to do that. But I know that to do this organically, we have to get the word out.
Yeah.
And a good part of that is, word of mouth is huge for me. But start with the group, start with coming to a networking event and see if it's something that fits. And if you're comfortable doing the things that we do when we're there, it's not a cult. Like, we're not going to have you sacrificing lambs or anything.
Although if the membership doesn't work out, we could just start a cult and they have to pay a tithe at that point. I mean, we're really working on things here.
I would be a great cult leader, to be completely honest. I would be the nicest person ever. Just give me your money. Yeah. Just give me your money. Rub my feet or
something. You
have
to. God hates you otherwise. You're going to hell. You're going to hell if you don't.
It works.
Yeah, so.
That's how it works. I just watched one the other day on HBO, Mother God or something.
Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah, and they
turned blue.
Yeah, she died. Like, she died, and she was God.
And no one said anything about her turning blue.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, she has to drink it.
We need
to have a whole separate podcast about our true crime stuff. My wife loves it too. So
let's do it.
So, thank you so much. Thank you, Tiffany Ball.
Absolutely a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
See you soon.
Thanks.